All right, so this is our Bible study for this week, and we just finished up, if you look at our chart over here, we just finished up the 7 sealed scroll, and what was released was the white horse, the red horse, the black horse, and the pale horse, and then the martyrs that were under the altar, and so now we are to the 7 trumpets. And we're going to spend a little bit of time first talking about the 144,000. And it says in Revelation, we're in chapter 7, verse 1 of Revelation. It says, "After this, I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds of the earth to prevent any wind from blowing on the land or on the sea or on any tree." So this is kind of what this image would look like. And when they're talking about the 4 corners of the earth, they're actually talking about the directions, north, south, east, and west, as 4 corners. They're not saying that the earth is square. They're saying they're standing at the 4 corners. And what they're preventing is they are preventing judgment from coming on the earth. They are preventing God's wrath from the earth for a time here. And it says here, "Then I saw another angel coming up from the east, having the seal of the living God." So there's another angel that's coming up from the east, has the seal of the living God. "He called out in a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm the land and the sea." So there, these 4 angels have been given power to harm the land and the sea. And this 5th angel that comes in says, and now I'm in verse 3, "Do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God." So they're going to put a seal on the forehead of their servants, and that seal is going to be a seal of protection around them.
Can you remind me again what chapter and verse we're in?
We're in chapter 7, and
Thank
now
you.
we're in verse 4.
Thank you.
Yep. "Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel." So when we're talking about the tribes of Israel, we are talking about the sons of Jacob. Because remember, God renamed Jacob Israel in the Bible. So if you go to the next screen, Joey. In Genesis 29 and 30, it tells us about the sons of Israel. And these are the sons of Jacob. Now, the next slide, in Genesis, these are the sons of Jacob in order. So if you look, are you able to see that on the screen?
Not too good, so where should I zoom
All right,
in?
so number 1, I'll just read them off to you. Number 1 is Reuben. Reuben was Jacob's first son. Then there was Simeon. Then there was Levi. Then there was Judah. Then there was Dan. Then there was Naphtali. Then there was Gad. Then Asher. Then Issachar. Then Zebulun. Then Joseph. And then Benjamin. And remember, Joseph had 2 sons that Jacob equally blessed, Manasseh and Ephraim. And these are the 12 sons of Jacob, and these are the 12 tribes of Israel as listed in Genesis.
All in blue.
All in blue.
Okay.
It's just the blue ones. The red ones are the women.
Oh,
Okay? So the red one, so Jacob really loved Rachel. Jacob was in love with Rachel. And Leah was Rachel's older sister. So in order to marry Rachel, their custom at the time was that they don't marry the younger sister off before they marry the older sister. So Jacob had both of them as wives. He married Leah first, and then he married Rachel, which was acceptable and allowed back then. Obviously, it isn't anymore. But we're going to focus in on this for a minute because the thing that's confusing is it lists different names. So if I go through Revelation here, just stay on that screen. And I'm going to read the names as they are in Revelation. From the tribe of Reuben. So Joe, go to the next screen. The ones that I have highlighted in green, if you can see them, I'll read them. Well, anyway, the ones that are
Green's
highlighted
not a
in
good
green,
color.
it says, from the tribe of Reuben, 12,000. From the tribe of Gad, 12,000. From the tribe of Asher, 12,000. And there's 12,000 from all the tribes. So the tribe of Naphtali, the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Simeon, Levi, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. Now, the reason that I'm making such a point of this is because you notice that the ones that are not highlighted, which I think you can see that on the screen, are the tribe of Dan and the tribe of Ephraim. So the problem that we have here is what happened with the tribe of Dan and the tribe of Ephraim. So Joe, go to the next picture. I think it'll be clear. This one, so over here, these are the 12 tribes according to Genesis. Then in Numbers, it lists these as the 12 tribes. And then in Revelation, it lists these as the 12 tribes. The reason this is confusing, and it has been for me, but I did some research, and this is the answer to this question. Different ones showed up at different times. The original tribe, sometimes they would falter and go away a little bit, but they always needed 12 tribes. So, for example, in Numbers, it doesn't list the tribe of Levi. And it also doesn't list the tribe of Joseph, but it lists Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So, in Revelation, and I know this is confusing, but I'm going to tell you what happened and why it is the way it is when you compare Genesis to Revelation. Because you'll see Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan's no longer there. Then you see Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun. Joseph is now there, and he was before. But Ephraim is not there in Revelation, but Manasseh is. So what happened? Well, what happened, and it's a little bit of a story, but I'm not going to make it real long. But what happened is the tribe of Dan and the tribe of Ephraim fell away from God. In fact, they were responsible for introducing idol worship into the Israel community and into the Israelite community. So God removed them from his blessed 12 tribes. They are no longer listed as the 12 tribes because Dan has been removed and Ephraim has been removed. And what they did, because they have to have 12 tribes, is he replaced Ephraim with Joseph. And
God did.
God, yes, he did. This is in God did in his word in Revelation.
Okay.
So yes, in his inspired word and what he gave to John in Revelation, he removed Dan and he removed Ephraim because those tribes are no longer going to be blessed because they were responsible for bringing idol worship in. What's the first commandment?
No other God.
No other gods before me. When you bring idol worship in, you just broke the first commandment. And you just broke, I would also say probably the most important commandment. Because when you break that commandment, you'll probably break all the other ones too while you're at it. Because once you no longer have God as God, and you're worshiping somebody else or something else, then you open up the door to all kinds of sin. And all kinds. So all your other commandments don't count either. So the fact that the tribe of Dan and the tribe of Ephraim introduced sin, that major sin of idolatry and idol worship into the Israelite community, in Revelation we see where God has removed them as part of his 12 tribes that are sealed. And why is this sealing so important? It's so important because these are the chosen ones, 12,000 people from each of the tribes, each of the 12 tribes, each of the Jewish Israel tribes. All right? 12,000 from each tribe are sealed. And that means they're protected. These people are going through the revelation, the tribulation that we've been talking about. They've gone through the seals, but the worst part of the revelation, the worst part of the tribulation, which is the great tribulation, is yet to come. And God is, at this point in time, pausing in releasing his wrath on the earth, which is what the four angels were about. The four angels came and they stood on all four corners of the earth, and they said, we will not release God's wrath until the 12,000 from each tribe are sealed. So now we're going to seal the 144,000. We're going to seal those as protected by God during the last part of Revelation. And we're going to see that. I don't know if we're going to see it today, but later on in Revelation, you're going to see that the wrath that's poured out on people, these 12,000 from each tribe, so the total of 144,000, are protected from some of that wrath.
And they are still alive.
They're still on the earth. They were not part of the rapture. So
Okay.
they had not accepted Christ as their Savior at that time. Or they were, I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but they were not taken up as part of the rapture, otherwise they wouldn't be here.
Okay.
Okay?
So they're still on the earth.
They're still on the earth during the tribulation.
Okay.
I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Okay.
Okay? And then it says, after this, and I am now in chapter 7, verse 9. After this, so this is after the 100. See, I've heard, the reason I focus so much on this 144,000 is number one, so we would understand it. If this is a lot of information, rewind your YouTube video and watch it again. Because it's really important for us to understand. Because there are so many religions that mess up this 144,000 thing. Some people say, well, are the 144,000 all that goes? And are the 144,000 the chosen ones and everybody else goes to hell? Not so. Because in Revelation chapter 7, verse 9, it says, after this I looked. So this is after the 144,000 were now sealed. Okay? I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count. From every tribe, every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. I wish I'd have got a picture of this, but I didn't. There is no picture. This is a multitude of people. This is way more. This is millions. When it says a great multitude that no one could count, they're talking about more than 144,000 people. You know, 144,000 people is a lot of people, but I could count 144,000 people given enough time. But this says a great multitude that no one could count. So we're talking about millions upon millions upon millions of people. Then it says, they were wearing white robes. White signifies that they have been made right with God, and they have salvation. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands. And they cried out in a loud voice, salvation belongs to our God, who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. All the angels were standing around the throne. Sorry about that. I'm going to shut my ringer off for a minute here. It says all, and now I'm in verse 11. Chapter 7, verse 11. All the angels were standing around the throne and around the elders and the four living creatures. Remember the picture of the throne and the elders and the Joey, go up on the slide. There's a picture of this. You may have to slip back a ways. Go up to the elders. Keep going. I know it's a long ways, but I keep all these together. Oh, down one, right there. Okay? It says, I'm going to read that again. Chapter 7, verse 11. That's why I'm keeping all these on the slide, because it refers back to them at times. All the angels were standing around the throne, and around the elders, and the four living creatures. So here we are. Here's our picture. All of the angels in the background. Here's the four living creatures, and there's God's throne. It's referring to this again. They fell down on their faces before the throne and worshipped God, saying, Amen. Praise and glory and wisdom and thanks and honor and power and strength be to our God forever and ever. Amen. All right, Joe, you can go back to our current screen. Then it says in verse 12, I'm sorry, maybe we're 13. Verse 13. Then one of the elders asked me, "These in white robes, who are they? And where did they come from?" I answered, "Sir, you know." And he said, "These are they who have come out of the great tribulation." All right, so these are people that are saved during the great tribulation. These are people that have accepted Christ as their Savior during the great tribulation. It says, "These are they who have come out of the great tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb." So they have trusted Christ during the great tribulation, this multitude of people, the ones in the white robes. "Therefore, they are before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple. And he who sits on the throne will shelter them with his presence. Never again will they hunger, never again will they thirst. The sun will not beat down on them, nor any scorching heat. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes." So chapter 7 is a pause. Joe, go back to our Revelation map, our timeline map. All right, so we went through the seals. We went through this section here, which is the 7 seals. And then we had this little pause right here. I think they call it a parenthesis. Parenthesis. This is a break in the action. It's this pause where now we went back to heaven and we showed what was happening in heaven and the 144,000 that were sealed, and now they're in heaven. Okay? So this is what's happening before the 7 trumpets start. So chapter 7 is a parenthesis where it takes a pause in the action. And chapter 7 is that pause. So we're done with chapter 7 now. So let's go on to the next chapter.
Revelation.
All right. So in chapter 8, verse 1, it says, "When he opened the 7th seal," so this all happened. So we had the 6 seals that were opened, which were the horses, the white, red, black, and pale horse, and the souls under the altar, the martyrs, and all that happened. Then we had this parenthesis in the action where it took this break in the action and explained, okay, while this is going on, here's what's going to happen in heaven. Here's what's going to happen here. Now it's going back to the 7th seal. So the 7th seal is where we're at now. And this is the 7th seal on the scroll that Jesus Christ is opening that he had in his hand. He already opened the other 6 seals, which we talked about last week. Now he's going to open the 7th seal. And it says in chapter 8, verse 1, "When he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about a half hour." And I think that silence is a key of what's to come. It's kind of the way I look at it, it's kind of the quiet before the storm. Because it's about to get a lot worse. And we're going to see that here.
Because the angels would have been singing and...
Correct. And now there's silence because here's the 7th seal. All the praising God and worshiping and all that, the 7th seal is opened and stops. Just like right now. You could hear a pin drop. And I think they're all in awe of what's going to happen now. And it says in verse 2, "And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them." So now we went from 7 seals that Jesus Christ is opening and releasing things onto the earth to where he opens the 7th seal now. And now he's releasing the 7 angels with the 7 trumpets. And it says, "Another angel who had a golden censer,"
Okay,
which is a little golden lamp like you see people carrying with incense in them. They can shake them. It's kind of on a chain, little ball with incense. Came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense to offer, with the prayers of all God's people on the golden altar in front of the throne. So he has the prayers of all the people with his incense burner in front of the people. But listen to what happens. "The smoke of the incense, together with the prayers of God's people, went up before God from the angel's hand." Now listen to this. This is in heaven, so this is happening above the earth. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. Next picture, please. He took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, which is like a constant clap of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Then the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. The first angel sounded his trumpet. Just keep it right here. And there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it hurled it down on the earth. So there's your picture. I'm going to read it. Just keep it on that picture for a minute.
Yes, sorry, sir.
That's right. Focus on this picture. This is the first trumpet. Yeah, hang in there. We're going back and forth tonight. So he hurled it. So came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. Now listen to what happened. Focus on this picture and pay close attention here. A third of the earth was burned up. A third of the trees were burned up. And all the green grass was burned up. So this is fire. This is judgment by fire. And it's judgment on the earth and scorching the earth. And a third, just think what happens to our society, what happens to our climate when a third of the earth is burned up. Think of the smoke and the fire, and now we have less oxygen to breathe, and so forth. And now we're in verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
The second angel sounded his trumpet. Next slide, please.
I should have known.
Yep. The second angel sounded his trumpet. And now, pay attention again. Watch the screen. And something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood. See the blood red on the screen? A third of the sea turned into blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. So now, not only was the land scorched and burned up, now the sea, even though we can't even fathom how the sea can be burned up, the sea is on fire. A mountain all ablaze, thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood. A third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. So we're getting a picture here. A third, a third, a third. A third of the trees, a third of the earth, a third of the sea, a third of the creatures. There's a lot of thirds happening here. All right? Next slide, please. The third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. So not only have the seas been burned up and tainted, the salt water, but now the fresh water. So a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. You are going to run out of resources really quick on this earth with these judgments coming. Because remember, all of this happens within a 7-year span. We're still on the first 3.5 years right here. And this is all happening. Everything we've done last week and this week has happened in the first 3.5 years. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. They had nothing to drink. And bitter is like acidic. It's kind of like waters that are by, if anyone's ever been, you can come back to me. If anyone's ever been to Yellowstone, where you have the waters that have this bubbling, acidic, sulfur smell, that's how I envision bitter waters. Like that sulfur smell. Can you imagine trying to live and survive on that water? That sulfur in the water will kill you. And it says here, a third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. Next slide, please. Time for the fourth trumpet. So all this judgment so far has been on this earth. And it's been in a third of the land and trees and so forth, and a third of the sea and the salt water and the sea creatures, and a third on the fresh water. Now listen. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. A third of the day was without light, and also a third of the night. Because a third of the stars are gone. There's no light at night in the sky. It's pitch black. And the same thing during the day, because a third of the sun and a third of the moon is gone as well. So basically what's happening here is you have a third of everything. So think of the calamity. We think the coronavirus is bad, and staying in our houses and having to endure each other for 24 hours a day is tough. Look at this. In Revelation, in the trumpets, they are striking the earth. This is the judgment of God coming right to earth. He's he's burning the land, he's burning the sea, he's killing a third of everything, he's judging the fresh water on the earth, and now he's shutting off our light. Think of what this would do for you farmers out there. Think of what this would do. We've got no water, nothing to water our crops with. Everything is tainted. A third of the land is burned. Take a third of your land and burn it and scorch it. Make it so it can't grow anything. Now, take away a third of your light. Nothing's going to grow. There's going to be no food. Do you remember the horses? And one of the horses represented famine and starvation. That's how it can happen, right there, when the earth is striked. Now, I made up a word. Struck. Let's use the word struck. There.
Sorry.
That sounds better.
Strike sounds funny.
Let's strike that. So, when the word earth is struck. So then in verse 13, it says, As I watched, I heard an eagle that was flying in midair call out in a loud voice. Now think about this. We live in Iowa.
That would be cool.
We have a lot of eagles. We have an eagle flying in the air, okay? How majestic eagles are and all of that. But this eagle talks. Right? God used a donkey to talk in the Bible too. But here he's using an eagle. And he says, was flying in midair, called out in a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe. 3 woes. W-O-Es. Woes. Bad things. Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the trumpet blasts about to be sounded by the other 3 angels. So we've been through 4 angels, right? Mm-hmm. This is the 4th trumpet, 4th angel. We have 3 left. And the eagle comes first to introduce them by saying, woe, woe, woe to the earth. Meaning, it's gonna be worse than what we just saw.
Not meaning whoa, 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 stop.
Not stop.
No.
This is woe, 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 meaning woe to the earth and woe to its inhabitants.
Sadness.
Yes.
Sad.
And that's what he says. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because of the trumpet blasts about to be sounded by the other 3 angels. All right, next slide.
There is no next slide.
There's no next slide. Okay. So, how much time do we have now?
We're at 28 minutes.
28 minutes.
I got 34 on this.
So, I'm going to read this part, and there is a little imagery in this. I wish I'd have gotten the picture for it, but I'm going to read it anyway because we have time. So, we are in Revelation 9.
Or would you rather stop and find the imagery?
Yeah, just pause it.
We could pause it. We'll be back after a brief commercial. And now a commercial from our tech man.
You know, if you haven't subscribed yet, now would be a great time to do it. You know, it's down below the video. It's the big red subscribe button. Then once you click it, make sure you hit that bell notification. You'll be notified every time we post a new one of these.
So obviously, this is the COVID virus, week 2. We're all a little stir crazy with our quarantine, as probably most of you are too. So we're no different. We wish you were here with us. It'd be fun. You know that it would. So we are to Revelation chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
Verse 1.
Okay.
Yes.
I was on the wrong one. Thank you.
And it says, the 5th angel, so now, this is after the eagle was there saying, woe, 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 to the earth. This is the 5th angel. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. Now here, this is important. Sometimes when it refers to a star in the Bible, it's referring to a star that shines at night in the sky. Just like when it says a third of the stars stopped shining and stopped giving light. So we know that that's what it was referring to. This star is not a night star. This star is a fallen angel. Okay? And the way we know that is the next verse. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. So this star has actually given a key, and it's going to do something with the key. So it's going into the earth, into the shaft of the abyss. And it says, when he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. So it's like a volcano erupting. Smoke rose up out. Okay? The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. Now, I'm going to pause right here for just a second. All of the judgments of the trumpet so far have been on the earth and on the heavens. No straight judgments to the people. And I think that's why the eagle came introducing these last three trumpets, because the eagle is said, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth. See, up till this time, the judgment was on the earth, and how that still affects the people, but it wasn't a direct judgment on the people at that point. But we're about to see that change. In verse 3, it says, and out of the smoke, locusts came down on the earth, and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. Next slide, please. Here's what this might look like. A fearsome picture. And you can see this looks like a locust, but it has given power of that of scorpions. See the tail on this? The tail is like the tail of a scorpion. Because this one's going to do something, these locusts, and there are millions of locusts. The sky is filled with locusts. And here's what happens. It says, they were told not to harm the grass of the earth, or any plant or tree.
Was there any left?
Remember, only a third was burned.
Oh, that's right.
Remember, only a third. But they were told not to harm the grass of the earth, or any
Okay.
plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. So here, we're gonna do a message about this on Sunday, because this is important for our time right now. But those 144,000, remember the four angels came to the corners of the earth and held back the judgment? And they said, it is time to put a seal on the foreheads of the 144,000. Those 144,000, the 12,000 from each of the tribes of Jacob, they were given a seal. Now listen to what the seal does. It says, they were told not to harm the grass of the earth. I'm going back. They were told, and I am in verse 4. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Anybody except the 144,000. They were not allowed to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months. Can you imagine being stung by these locusts that have tails like scorpions and being attacked by them for 5 months?
And Joey, you think it's torture to be in the house with us for a month.
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
about the rest of the kids in the area, but
We think the coronavirus is tough. It is not. This is tough.
that would be tough.
These scorpions are stinging. And listen to this. And the agony they suffered was like that of the sting of a scorpion when it strikes. During those days, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. It is so bad. It is so bad that they're seeking death. So come on back to the picture, because I want you to focus on this picture because it's an important picture. This picture looks funny because you notice what the feet look like on this picture?
Horse hooves?
Horse hooves. And it says in verse 7, the locusts looked like horses prepared for battle. On their heads they wore something like crowns of gold, and their faces resembled human faces. Their hair was like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. So this picture is an accurate depiction of what we're talking about here. Gold crown, human face, teeth like a lion, a body like a horse, and armored. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron. See the breastplate on there? Like a breastplate of iron, right there. And the sound of their wings was like the thundering of many horses and chariots rushing into battle. Can you imagine one of these things coming after you? They
No.
had tails with stingers like scorpions, and in their tails they had power to torment people for 5 months. They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Habaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon. That is destroyer. Abaddon? Sorry, Abaddon. I'm being corrected. There's a lot of things
The
too.
tech guy
But,
knows this
The tech
one.
guy's helping me. But so this happens for 5 months. This beast, these locusts coming up out of the abyss, from the key of the star that was fallen out of the sky, torments the people and stings them. Can you imagine being chased after by one of these things that looks like a horse? I imagine they're not little locusts like we're used to. These are big beasts that will attack you and chase after you with thundering wings and sting you and cause you pain and agony for 5 months to where you wish you were dead. That's what it says in Revelation. Then it says something kind of sad. It says, the first woe is past. 2 other woes are yet to come. That's only one. That's only one woe. That is the judgment on the people. So we're going to stop there for this week. But think about that. And if you need to, go back and watch this again. We've kept it short on purpose, so you can go back and watch it again. Make sure you get this in your minds, because remember, if you've accepted Christ as your Savior, like we've talked about so many times, but if you've accepted Christ as your Savior, you don't go through any of this. You'll never see these things.
Amen.
You'll be in heaven. And it gets worse.
Scary.
And it gets worse. So that's it for this week. I hope everyone is staying safe and staying quarantined as needed. Hopefully none of us have to be actually quarantined, and we're just practicing distancing for right now. But hopefully this will come to pass as well.